There is a very specific feeling you get when you think you know exactly what kind of story you're watching.
For sure, you get comfortable.
Right, you get settled in. And with The Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, up until now, I mean, I was fully settled in. I thought, okay, this is a medieval sports movie.
Yeah, it has that exact structure.
It's like Rocky and plate armor.
Yeah.
You've got Dunk, the underdog from Flea Bottom, and Egg, his wisecracking manager, well, his squire. It just feels cozy.
It really does. It has that classic, local boy makes good vibe.
Mm.
You are completely primed to expect training montages, a few minor setbacks, and then the big uplifting win at the end of the tourney.
Exactly. But then we hit episode 3, The Squire, and the show just completely pulls the rug out from under us. I feel like I was watching a completely different genre by the end of it.
And that is the brilliance of it, honestly. Because this is the pivot point. We stop watching a sports drama about jousting, and suddenly we are neck deep in a high-stakes political thriller.
Yeah.
The lances are still there, but now they're being pointed at royal bloodlines and ancient laws.
So that is our mission for today's deep dive. We aren't just doing a basic plot recap. If you're joining us, we are going to dissect how the show executes this massive bait and switch.
It's a huge shift in tone.
It is. We are going to look at the clash between the fantasy of knightly honor and the ugly reality of royal entitlement. Plus, we really have to unpack the Targaryen family tree.
Which is, let's be honest, a total nightmare to navigate.
Oh, it's a labyrinth. But we have to do it to understand why a royal prince is out hiding in the mud. And we're pulling all this from detailed episode breakdowns and lore analysis of Westeros history, specifically looking at the era about 90 years before Game of Thrones.
Right, and we definitely need to talk about the prophecy that drops in this section too.
Yes.
It is so easy to miss if you aren't paying close attention, but it foreshadows a tragedy that echoes all the way down to the era of Game of Thrones.
Absolutely. So let's just jump right in. Let's start with the day in the life sequence at the beginning, because before the political bomb actually goes off, the episode kind of lulls us into this false sense of security.
It does. We see Egg up at dawn, freezing cold, dealing with Dunk's incredibly stubborn warhorse, Thunder.
Yeah, and it's a crucial sequence for establishing their baseline. We really need to see the labor involved. Being a hedge knight isn't glamorous at all. It's mostly just trying to find calories and keeping your gear from falling apart.
Right, it's pure survival.
Exactly. And it shows that Egg isn't just tagging along for fun. He is actually working.
And Dunk isn't just bossing him around either, which I loved. There's that scene that really stuck out to me where Dunk is teaching Egg how to sew patches on a tunic.
That is such a great subversion.
It is. Usually in these types of stories, the squire does all the mending while the knight, conspicuously sharpens a sword or looks heroic gazing into the distance. But here, Dunk is the one with the needle.
It highlights the reciprocity of their relationship, but honestly, more importantly, it highlights their poverty. They are living hand to mouth.
Yeah.
There is that moment where Dunk puts up this tough front, saying all they have to eat is hard salt beef, which is basically like chewing on a leather boot.
Exactly. But then he breaks that hard guy persona, and they actually share a goose egg sandwich. It's a very intimate, quiet moment.
It really shows that beneath the grand titles of knight and squire, they are just two people trying to survive the day.
Right. And during this training sequence, Egg drops a line about his father that is just, well, it's hilarious, but it's also deeply telling.
Oh, the horse quote.
Yeah. He says his father told him never to talk to a horse because they're dumber than dogs.
I laughed out loud at that. But it's true. We haven't even met Egg's father on screen yet, but that one sentence gives you a complete psychological profile of the guy.
Completely. He's stern, he's pragmatic, and he clearly has zero patience for sentimentality. And it contrasts so sharply with Dunk, who is actually out there trying to build a genuine bond with the animal.
Speaking of bonds, we have to talk about the song.
Oh boy.
Yeah, they are walking through the camp, and they're singing this incredibly bawdy tavern song about three-fingered Alice.
A true classic of the genre.
I am definitely not going to get into the specific lyrics here because we want to keep things clean, but it involves a copper coin, a glass, and some very creative anatomy. But in the notes for today's deep dive, you flagged this as a major piece of world building.
I did.
How does a dirty joke connect to the grand history of Westeros?
This is one of those things the source material just does so well. If you strip away all the innuendo from the song, it's actually a folk history of the first Blackfyre Rebellion.
Really?
Yeah, which happened about 13 years before this story takes place.
Wait, so the song about the copper in the glass is actually about a massive civil war?
It is. The lyrics specifically mention the hammer and the anvil. Now, obviously in the context of a tavern song, that's just a sexual euphemism. But historically, the hammer and the anvil was the specific military tactic used to crush the rebel leader.
Demon Blackfyre.
Exactly, Demon Blackfyre at the Battle of the Redgrass Field.
Okay, let's break that down for everyone listening. Who were the hammer and the anvil in the actual war?
So the hammer was Baelor Breakspear. He's the crown prince, the guy we have seen walking around being the perfect honorable knight. He led the cavalry charge that smashed into the rebel rearguard.
Oh, okay.
And the anvil was his younger brother, Maekar. Maekar held the defensive line at the front against overwhelming odds, basically acting as a wall, which allowed Baelor to crush the rebels against him.
Wow. So Maekar, wait, that's Egg's dad.
Correct.
That adds such a weird, almost tragic layer of irony to the scene. You have Egg, who we find out later is a royal prince, trudging through the mud, singing a dirty song that turns his own father's greatest military achievement into a cheap sex joke.
It really shows how the common people process trauma, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The Blackfyre Rebellion killed thousands of people. It tore the entire realm apart. But a decade later, it's just fodder for a drinking song. History trickles down and totally loses its dignity.
But for Egg, that is his literal family legacy being mocked, and he is just singing right along with it.
He's just blending in.
That is fascinating. Now, while they're bonding over this, the plot really starts to tighten up. We get introduced to the corruption happening behind the scenes of the tourney with the Master of Games, Plumber, and Lord Ashford.
This is the moment where the sports movie narrative starts to get really cynical.
Yeah.
The Ashfords have vastly overspent on this tournament. They need a way to make their money back, so they start looking for a mark.
And they find Dunk. They pull him aside and offer him a deal that, honestly, if I were in Dunk's shoes, starving, broke, sleeping in a muddy tent, I would have a really hard time refusing.
It's a huge temptation.
They want him to fight Lord Ashford's son, Sir Andrew, and they've rigged it so Andrew will lose on purpose.
It's a classic match-fixing scheme. If their home favorite, Sir Andrew, loses to a complete unknown like Dunk, the betting odds pay out an absolute fortune.
All right.
And they offer Dunk the winner's spoils. He gets to keep the armor, the horse, the gold. This is life-changing money for him.
But he says no. And this feels like the defining moment for Dunk's character early on. Why do you think he turns it down? Is it just pure naivety?
In a way, yes, there is naivety there.
Yeah.
But it's also the ultimate test of honor. Dunk is trying so hard to be a true knight in a world where true knights, frankly, don't really exist.
Yeah.
He believes that the victory only matters if it is earned. If he takes the fall, or rather, if he lets the other guy take the fall, he becomes just another grifter.
It really sets up this overarching theme of different kinds of knights. You have the corrupt Ashfords on one side, you have Dunks, the pure idealist, on the other, and then right in the middle you have Sir Robin Riesling.
I loved him.
I love this character too. We meet him during the training sequence. He's missing an eye, he's terribly scarred, but he is just desperate to fight.
They call him the maddest knight. He's a complete fanatic.
Yeah.
Did you catch how he refers to himself? He uses we.
I did notice that. I initially assumed it was a royal we kind of thing. Or maybe he's just taken too many lances to the head and is crazy.
It's actually religious. He believes he is a literal vessel for the warrior, which is one of the 7 aspects of God in their faith.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he thinks he isn't fighting at all. He thinks that the God is fighting through him. It is such a stark contrast with the Ashfords. They view the tourney as a business transaction, while Riesling views it as a holy sacrament.
That is a brilliant contrast. And then, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum from both of them, you have Prince Aerion Targaryen. If Riesling represents faith, Aerion is just pure nightmare fuel.
Aerion Brightflame. He really steps up as the primary villain of the piece here.
And the show does a fantastic job visually coding him right away. He isn't wearing the standard black and red Targaryen colors. Yeah. He's got this black skull helmet, and he's in this loud, aggressive orange.
He wants to stand out. He calls his specific color bright fire. But it's his actions in the joust that really turn the tide of the episode from sport to horror.
Yeah, that scene is brutal.
He rides against Sir Humphrey Harding. Now, the rules of jousting are pretty simple and universally understood. You break lances, you try to unhorse the rider. It's dangerous, of course, but there is a code of conduct.
But Aerion completely ignores the code. He doesn't even aim for the rider. He actively lowers his lance and drives it straight through the horse's neck.
It is a shocking, visceral moment of violence. And the sound design in that scene was just gut-wrenching. The horse screaming, the terrible crash of the armor, the dead weight of the horse crushes Harding's leg.
The reaction from the crowd is really what sells the gravity of it, though. They don't gasp and then politely clap. They go completely silent, and then they're genuinely angry. They actually start throwing rocks at the royal box.
Which is a huge deal. In a feudal society, throwing a stone at a prince of the blood is basically suicide. It shows you just how heavily Aerion violated the social contract there. He turned a noble sport into a slaughter.
And this leads to a very dark revelation from Egg. Right after it happens, Dunk tries to rationalize it. He says maybe it was just an accident, maybe his lance slipped. But Egg knows better.
Egg knows exactly who his brother is.
He tells Dunk a story about Aerion that genuinely made my skin crawl.
The knife story.
Yeah.
Egg reveals that Aerion once crept into his room, held a knife to Egg's genitals, and joked about cutting them off to make Egg a sister so he could marry him.
It is so disturbing on so many levels. It implies incest, mutilation, and just total unchecked sadism.
And it establishes firmly that Aerion isn't just a cheater trying to win a game. He is deeply unwell. He literally believes he is a dragon in human form, and therefore human morality or even basic sanity simply doesn't apply to him.
Which really brings us to the absolute core of this deep dive. If you're listening, we need to pause and explain exactly who Egg is, because when the big reveal happens at the end of the episode, it only lands with its full weight if you understand the family dynamics.
Right.
And the Targaryen family tree right now is, well, it's very crowded.
Extremely crowded. So let's set the board for everyone. We are roughly 90 years before the events of Game of Thrones. King Daeron II, known as Daeron the Good, is sitting on the Iron Throne.
Right.
The succession is completely secure. He has 4 adult sons.
Which is usually a great thing for a dynasty. You have the heir and the spare. But here he has an heir, a spare, and 2 solid backups.
Exactly. First, you have Baelor Brinkspear, the eldest. He is the perfect prince. He's the hand of the king, and absolutely everyone loves him.
Then you have the middle 2, Aerys and Rhaegal.
Aerys is a total bookworm, very obsessed with magic and prophecy. Rhaegal is just mad. He's the one famously known for dancing naked through the halls of the Red Keep.
Okay, so that's 3. And then the 4th son is Maekar, Egg's dad.
Yes, Maekar is the Amble we talked about earlier. He's a brilliant soldier, a great commander, but he is incredibly bitter. He's the 4th son, so he has spent his entire life being overshadowed by his perfect older brother, Baelor. He feels entirely unappreciated.
So Maekar is the 4th son of the king, and Egg, our little bald squire, is Maepar's 4th son.
Exactly. Egg is the 4th son of a 4th son.
Yeah.
That is exactly why he's allowed to just slip through the cracks like this.
He's invisible.
He is so far down the line of succession, he is technically 10th in line for the throne that nobody is really watching him.
But we have to look at Egg's older brothers because this connects directly back to Game of Thrones in a massive way.
Right. So Maekar's eldest son is Daeron, known as Daeron the Drunken. He suffers from these terrifying prophetic dreams about dragons returning, and they scare him so much that he just drinks constantly to black out.
And he's the one who was originally supposed to be chaperoning Egg, right?
Yes, but he just shaved the kid's head to hide his silver hair and then wandered off to find a tavern instead.
Father of the year material right there. Then the second son is Aerion, the psycho we just saw kill the horse. And then there's the third brother, Aemon.
This is the connection that usually blows people's minds when they realize it. Maekar's third son is a very quiet, bookish boy named Aemon. Eventually, to prevent any future succession crises, because there are too many heirs, he is sent away to the Citadel to become a maester.
So, wait. The blind Maester Aemon at Castle Black. The old man who mentors Jon Snow.
The very same person. When Maester Aemon is dying of old age in Game of Thrones and he is delirious, he whispers, "Egg, I dreamed that I was old."
Oh, wow.
He is talking to the memory of the little bald kid we were watching run around in the mud in this episode.
That is just heartbreaking context. It makes you look at Egg completely differently. He isn't just a plucky sidekick for Dunk. He is the beloved little brother of one of the wisest, most tragic characters in the entire franchise.
It's beautiful storytelling. And it totally explains why Egg can hide so easily. Nobody expects a royal prince of the blood to be completely bald and serving a giant impoverished hedge knight.
But the episode does drop a major hint that Egg might not stay in the shadows forever. We get that eerie prophecy scene right in the middle of the camp.
The fortune teller. She's actually played by the same actress who was the innkeeper in episode 1, which is a nice touch.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah. So she reads Dunk's future first. She sees success. She tells him he'll be richer than a Lannister. It's very positive.
Yeah.
But then she turns and looks at Egg, and the entire vibe in the tent just instantly dies.
It gets so cold, she looks right at him and says, "You shall be king," which is a huge bombshell on its own. But then she immediately adds, "and die in a hot fire, and worms shall feed upon your ashes, and all who know you shall rejoice in your dying.
It is incredibly grim. For the hardcore lore fans listening, the phrase worms in the ashes is a direct, terrifying reference to the tragedy at Summerhall.
Why, the fire.
Yeah, a mysterious, massive fire that happens decades later. It is literally foreshadowing the very end of Egg's life. But even just in the moment, the shock for the audience is the idea that the 10th in line could ever possibly sit on the Iron Throne.
Because it implies that a lot of people have to die for that math to work out.
A catastrophic amount of people have to die.
Which brings us to the climax of the episode, the puppet show. This is the spark that finally lights the fuse on all this tension.
We have the puppeteer, Tansel, putting on a show for the small folk. It's a play called The Legend of Serwyn of the Mirror Shield. It's a very standard fantasy trope. A brave, heroic knight slays an evil dragon.
But Aryan Brightflame is in the audience, and because of his severe delusions, he doesn't see it as just a harmless story.
No, not at all. He fundamentally believes he is a dragon. So to him, this simple puppet show is an act of high treason. He views it as anti-Targaryen propaganda, actively advocating for the death of his family.
It's narcissism completely weaponized. So he attacks Tansel, he drags her down and actually starts breaking her fingers. And this is the moment where Dunk just fundamentally changes.
Dunk snaps. He completely stops being a cautious hedge knight, worried about where his next meal is coming from, and he finally becomes a true knight.
He forgets the law. He forgets that Aryan is royalty and untouchable. He just sees a cruel man hurting a defenseless woman.
And he beats the living daylights out of him.
He really does. He pummels him. And as a viewer, you are cheering so hard because Aryan absolutely deserves every bit of it. But logically, in the back of your mind, you are screaming for him to stop because Dunk is effectively committing public suicide.
Striking a royal is high treason. It's a guaranteed death sentence.
Right. It takes 3 royal guards to finally pull him off. And they aren't just arresting him, they draw their swords and are getting ready to execute him right there in the mud. And then that voice cuts through the chaos.
Egg steps in, and the physical acting from the young actor here is just incredible. Up until now, he's been slouching, looking down, playing the servant. Suddenly, he stops slumping. He stands up perfectly straight with total authority and commands the royal guards to stand down.
I am Aegon Targaryen.
The secret is finally out. And the look on Dunk's face in that moment is incredible.
Yeah.
It's just pure betrayal mixed with sheer terror. He realizes he hasn't just been babysitting some random noble kid. He has been kicking around and ordering about a prince of the realm.
There's a line right at the very end of that reveal that I think is arguably the most important line of the entire episode. Aryan looks at Egg, bleeding in the mud, and sneers, "Why are you bald?" Implying that it's just a terrible, ugly disguise.
And Egg doesn't even flinch. He looks his brother dead in the eye and says, "I cut it off, brother. I didn't want to look like you."
Man, that hits so hard, it reframes everything about his character. The shaved head wasn't just a practical way to hide his silver hair from the guards. It was a deeply personal rejection of his own family.
Specifically, a rejection of Aryan's madness. It brings us right back to the central theme of nature versus nurture.
Right.
They share the exact same blood, the same parents, and they grew up in the exact same halls of the Red Keep. But Egg is utterly repulsed by Aryan's cruelty. He would literally rather look like a starving peasant than look anything like his royal brother.
So where does this leave us as the credits roll? The episode ends with Dunk technically alive, but he's in chains.
The sports movie is officially dead and buried. We are now firmly in a tense legal and political drama. Dunk has to answer for his crimes. And because the victim of his assault is a Targaryen prince, the local Ashford lords don't have the authority to judge him.
So we have the big guns coming in. Mycah, the stern, unforgiving father we talked about earlier, is on his way. Baelor Breakspear has to step in to mediate.
It is going to be a total mess. Maekar is going to be absolutely furious that one of his sons is acting like a homicidal maniac in public, and the other has been running around playing dress-up in the mud with a peasant.
It really brings to mind that famous saying in Westeros, every time a Targaryen is born, the gods toss a coin in the air and the world holds its breath to see how it will land.
And we are seeing that coin flip happen in real time within a single generation of one family. You have Baelor, who is perfectly noble. You have Maekar, who is harsh but dutiful. And then their sons, Aryan is a monster, Darren is a hopeless drunk, and Egg is humble.
It really raises a provocative question to leave you, our listener, with today. We constantly hear the adage that power corrupts. But looking at Aryan and Dunk in this episode, I have to wonder, does power corrupt, or does it just reveal who you really are?
That is the ultimate question here.
Yeah.
Aryan has all the power of the world, no consequences, and it reveals him as a total sadist. Dunk has absolutely zero power. He is literally a beggar knight. And when the ultimate pressure is applied, it reveals him as a true protector.
And Egg is standing right there in the middle, watching both of these men, deciding exactly what kind of man and what kind of king he eventually wants to be.
And if that grim prophecy we heard is true, he has a very long, very hot road ahead of him.
Indeed, he does. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the Squire. Next time, we will be looking at the immediate fallout of this fight, the arrival of the royals, and the trial that inevitably follows. You definitely won't want to miss it. Thanks for listening.